tertulia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is August 22, 2010. It's a Sunday. The entry is 1668, 5 pages, 43 ologies, and 10 maxima. The topic is consciential machine, whose subfield is intraphysicology. Definition: the consciential machine is the existential condition of intraphysical consciousness when looked upon as a mental somatic machine of self-discernment acting in the biological machine of the soma. The rectilinear self-oceanization in the cosmoethically oriented self-manifestations. The mega-machine of the consciousness. The soma in the condition of ultra-sensitive biochemical machine. The body bellows or the biological bellows. The mathematical precision in the body machine or in the house machine. The mechanical natural repetitions of the human life. The negative mechanization of the person machine subjected to and unaware of the impositions of the still pathological intraphysical society. The synapsological cerebral machine of the mental soma. The experimental machine of the useful routines around the clock. The intellectual machine of the well-equipped office of the author of written work. Now the complex parapsychic machine of the holosoma of the consciousness. Now in argumentology there is the taxology, 10 basic characteristics listed in functional order, indicating new horizons for understanding the machines. Then there are also in characterology 8 categories of machines related to consciousness, and there are 12 items in referentiology. We would like to single out the human automaton, the adjusted object, the proexogenic residence soma, and the consciential plant. Now, this intraphysical dimension where we live, composed of electrons, is a mere reflex of the multiple extraphysical dimensions, all of them composed of flows and reflows of subtle consciential energies. How do you, reader, see your own condition of consciential machine? Do you fight against the automatisms of your daily life? I would like to tell you that here I am talking about the reflex of the multiple extraphysical dimensions, all of them composed of flows and reflows of subtle consciential energies. We know all of that because of the immanent energy. Now, question. When I turned on my computer, I had a psychological, energetic, and physical discomfort. It was very awkward. There was something wrong, and then I had the idea that it could be being promoted by the group that didn't want me to interact with this holocene. I encapsulated myself by means of the vibrational state and connected myself even more to the educational environment of the tertulia. If this could happen, promoted by the extraphysical helper, so that I could be more lucid, acting with more lucidity. Do you think that the helpers could do so? Yes, they can do so, but you have to prepare yourself for that, because in this case it could be what we call group intrusion. For example, you're not talking about that here. I'm not aware of your specific case, but for example, a person that had any kind of participation in a sectarian group, and they, be them extraphysical or intraphysical consciousnesses, they will go for the person. They won't let the person leave that group, and it is looked on as a war by them. So when you leave their group, you are in the condition of the one that walks away. So maybe if you participated in something like this, you could be under the influence of a group intrusion. For example, the person that's going to leave the Spiritism, after 2 years the person will still feel that pressure, that intrusion, but it all depends also on what you have done in that context. For example, if you had worked 15 years before leaving, and you were even the chairman, for example, you will have 5 years of intrusion, up to 5 years of intrusion. So they won't let you go so easily. So you have to see if your case could fall into this scheme. Anyway, it's a group intrusion. Another one. Professor, not justifying myself, but to understand my case. I was in an extra-physical event, in a t-shirt, and I wasn't beautifully dressed for a woman. And in this place there were kids, children. There weren't any kind of sexual interests, and they were all hugging each other fraternally. Once you said that it could happen, and that people from consciential therapy were lacking this kind of assistance. And I thought, how could I be updated and catch up with this kind of assistance? Well, we have to see what you really meant with your letter. I didn't understand this. Yeah, I know that it's from yesterday, but I didn't understand very well. But generally speaking, you should help others with all you can. Your helpers will give you insights as to how to improve the technique of aiding, of helping. You're on the right path. Don't worry about that. I think that I used wrongly the word infiltrated, cosmoethical infiltrated. It happened in 2003 when those responsible for a spiritual center, a friend of mine, invited me to participate of a course with topics of conscientiology. Then that's when I asked for permission to have some posters of conscientiology hang there, and I could see that 2 years after they were presenting their research, they told me that they had seen those boards, those advertisements, and were very grateful for that. Everything was done with lots of cosmoethical respect. Yes, you were uninfiltrated, no way out. I think that you were, but it was everything positive. But we shouldn't do that on purpose. We have to leave it up if the person wants, and then you will explain, you will help, but you don't have to try to talk the person into your things. But they must have had the intermissive course. That's why they welcomed the ideas. In this context of a very polluted intraphysical life, how can we live longer in the condition of a consciential machine, using it properly without having this a machine or this body with many problems? Well, I've been trying hard. Within 2 years, I will be in the 4th age, in the older age, and then I will be 80. So I'll have to celebrate anyhow. I'll have to eat a big mango, something like that, and I will eat this big mango very noisily. I will be all alone. Nobody will see that I am starving, and then I will eat this mango. And it's, well, after all, it's a demonstration of happiness. This was my friend Zé Palestina. He used to do like this, drum his fingers. So it's a kind of philosophy, and see, it doesn't lack wisdom. Because one thing is to eat something without any kind of concerns as to education, behavior, etiquette and this kind of things. The helpers understand that. Now, in this case, I think that that's our friend. She's called Ami. Ami means friend in French. And I had all my things. I had a cancer on the top of my head. And then when I had the cancer, and when she got to know that, she told me, Professor, I don't understand that, because you take care of yourself so well. You're a physician. You have studied all this. Nevertheless, you get cancer. And then I added, the worst is that it was on the coronal chakra. So she said, what should I do? Because she was in total despair, and it's true. And then I told her, well, it doesn't matter. You have a young phase. You're just halfway through your life. Everybody's living up to 100 years old. So that's the thing I'm talking about here. I've been striving for achieving this condition. If one sees the things I take, my pills, my supplements, and so on, everything that I take daily, people will see how I am well adjusted. But in this case, I can assure my condition. But then there's also this lady that says, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you are 78. So I am, it's a problem for me, but I like that one. And then I said, well, this demoralization that you were charging me with, I will take it as a compliment, because I could even take it as an award. Now another question. How can I take the intermissive course? I'm from another state. How can I do that? Well, listen up, my friend. The intermissive course is taken in the intermissive period, spanning your past life and this one. It means that it's the period before you come back to this life, before being born again. Here, we're just trying to repeat, just give the outline, to lay the outlines of the intermissive period. But what happens here is to know if, before being born again, before resomating, to know if you've taken this intermissive course, you will take a look at the 700 experiments, our treatise, and you will see there is an experiment allowing you to see if you have taken the intermissive course or not. And we have dealt with that many times. You will see intermissive course in the 700 experiments of conscientiology, and then you will see if you have taken the course or not. Maybe you just want to do the course that you have already taken, so now you have to take on board what you already know. On the Tertulia site, there is a link, so you can take a look at that too. Now another question. I would like to know whether the fact of being an entrepreneur helps having lucid projections. I have two possible answers. First, the helper sponsors the projections. Yes, he does, provided that the context is positive. Second, the entrepreneurship sponsors holochakra lucidness. Well, it may happen if the environment is good, is positive, if it's helping other people, if it's creating jobs, if you are setting up a positive company and so on. I would like to know the professor's opinion on the famous philosopher Michel de Montaigne. In the 16th century, he was defending the criticism, the skeptical behavior, and the quest for self-knowledge. Literature and philosophy owns a lot to him. Why isn't he in the list of the 100 most influential personalities? Well, what happens is that there are several people that were very influential. Sometimes we can't include all of them in a single list. But he was also from the encyclopedists team, so he was very smart, and up to now people still use his things, but many things are outdated, they have died out of use, and many things have happened after his work. Now, I have two doubts. Is it lack of respect watching tertulias having lunch? Well, see, your question is nonsense. You must be very repressed due to religious influence. Do you follow too many things of your religious precepts? You have to get rid of it. Our tertulia stages debates. Have you ever seen a box during lunch? It's the same thing. So here we hold fights, but what happens is that it's fights of ideas. Instead of a jab or something like that, we try to have a mental semantic, a mental struggle, a mental fight, and impactotherapy and other things. By way of watching the tertulias, the helpers that are sponsoring the field, do they help us too? Yes, they do. I tell all of you what happens when they manifestate themselves, mainly during megaphorization. Now there are other things. I have one thing that Malu has been studying, the process of the French actress who wants to participate in the movie. Cassandra Mar is her name. The movie Christ Awaits You. Cristo espera por ti in Portuguese. She's extraordinary. She's still young. She's 33 years old. She's still in her preparatory phase. 33. Now see, she was born in France. She studied languages in Sorbonne. She is a polyglot. She speaks French, Italian, Spanish, Croatian, Portuguese, and so on. She had a scholarship to study in Canada, where she studied both law and psychology. In addition, she dedicated herself to drama. She was a model and participated in big brands campaigns. She has worked in the movies Existence. Cronenberg is a great man. Caçador de Relíquias and Detroit Rock City. And the TV, Nikita. It was a series in which she participated. She came to Brazil. She got in touch with Walter Salles, Fernando Meirelles. She studied Gaul Doratory. It's a movie festival, film festival in Toronto, Canada. And she came down to the one in Gramado. And she worked in the movies of the Moffret family. But what happens is that she recorded Nove Musas from Antonio Vogliazzi, the director of the family Moffret, and in 2010 she's got two projects, Exhortation and Elie Herbert, the same director of the family Moffret. So she didn't stop, she's been working a lot. And I need to see this movie Existence. In 1999 it was recorded from Cronenberg. Waldo, here, I have this movie, I can bring that to you, but I'll tell you that it's terrible. It's Cronenberg's. So yeah, I'm aware of his stuff, and I know that his stuff. But she has to participate in such a thing. Her name is Cassandra. Cassandra Mar, double R at the end. And you know who Cassandra was, don't you? In the Greek mythology, she was a prophetess. She didn't want to compromise. She was going to be enticed by the king of the gods, and he cast a spell on her so nobody would believe her prophecies, and nobody believed her. At the end, she was persecuted. He had to run away, and she was sheltered by Ajax, and he was involved with the Greek gods too. But after all, she was killed. And it's Cassandra, the goddess, but it's a well-known, a world-famous Greek mythology goddess. Yes, it's true, Professor. When the person has a precognition and nobody else believes, it's called the syndrome of Cassandra. So she must come by. I would like to know her. Yeah, it would be very good. But now, CAEC debate topic, Karl Marx, between philosophy and science. It will take place today, Sunday, from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Dynamics block at the CHSC, the Center for Higher Studies of the Consciousness, of Conscientiology. So it will cover alienation, the reversal of concepts, Marxism, socialism, communism, and so on. So they will deal with Karl Marx ideas. Those who don't know his concepts, it's worthwhile because he played a major role, and now it's at the end, but he played a major role. Yes, Viviane will be in charge of it, but he will be there. Yes, I will be there as a mediator, and she will be there because she has presented this topic at her master's thesis, and it will be very interesting. But I would like to know those who are going to support, to defend Karl Marx. If they do that without stomachache, it's the best. I would like to see that. After all, you tell me those who are going to support Karl Marx, but let's see. But Leandro hasn't come yet, has he? He gave me some data on the entries, but just tell him that it's okay. He can do it. He gave the topic of the entry here. Professor, here on your right. In Interaxiology, page 16, could you elaborate on that? Because there are several interactions I think that you could elaborate on. The first one, first line, the interaction, the interaction child, prototypical plant. Yeah, because experimental plant, because there are several of them. Well, yes, the child is an experimental plant. In the adolescence, it's still very prototypical because we don't know what personality will arise from that child. And then you talk about the Serenissimus prototypical plant. Serenissimus and the prototypical plant. This is our evolutionary model. He has settled. Yeah, Professor, but prototypical doesn't have the connotation of mature. No, but see, in this case, prototypical was the mold, the model of something. For me, it's all the same. They're all synonyms. They're all synonyms with each other. Yeah, he's the first one, but he's a big first one, Professor. See, he's the little first one of the free consciousness.
Evolution. Evolution.
Okay. What else? Well, the next ones I've understood. Now, I'd like you to elaborate on the interaction, the intraphysical center of energy and the extraphysical center of energy. Yeah, it's what I've been talking about. I've been struggling to become one. I am an example of that. I've been striving. It was just like our talk during lunchtime. Who was there? Yes, Pedro was there. Yeah, you were there too. So That was our talk.
Então não é uma central.
So this is not an electronic central, no. You have to see that it comes to a point where your extraphysical clinic is not a big deal, but see, myself as an intraphysical consciousness, if I see something like that, now, see, the thing is more serious than that. If I can see that, now imagine the lucid extraphysical consciousnesses. But now that person that made that first question about the longevity here, see, it's a box for the pills. The pill case for food supplements. It's the pocket pack. It's the best one. Sometimes it's very good to have one like this and to clean it with alcohol. This one is the classic. This is the professional, the international one. I took that with me in my trips. There are 6 divisions inside. It shouldn't have more, because you shouldn't take more than 3 at a time. Everything is studied. I'm just saying, because now it's with me. I was carrying this. I was just changing some pills. Now, Professor, you talked about the extraphysical clinic. It becomes small, little. You've said once that when the extraphysical clinic practitioner decimates, will want his previous clinic be incorporated by the extraphysical center of energy. Well, no, it will weaken, it will disappear together. But now let's see. It's not because of energy. It's because of the intensivity of the assistance you're practicing, you're performing. Now, under certain aspects, the extraphysical clinic could achieve a point where it is minimized. But this is the ideal. This is what I've been trying to do. Professor, elaborate on that. The ideal is to have a minimized extraphysical clinic. When the extraphysical clinic exists, you perform a specific assistance like a parasanitarian hospital. It's like a ward dedicated to something, like an intensive care unit or something like that. It will come, they will come when it's not only what you do, because you are working around the clock regardless of your penta, of your extraphysical clinic. You're dealing with energy non-stop. Now you will see then that you will say, it seems that the Serenissimus will not have an extraphysical clinic anymore, but it's just theoretically speaking, because then the evolutionologist could come up to him and say, okay, we have this group of people to assist, what can we do? And then he will reactivate his extraphysical clinic. So it's very flexible, and it has a wide scope. So everything became smaller, and it's awkward, because the extraphysical clinic could be a phone booth as well as a soccer field full of people. So it depends. Starting from that, we were able to see that assistance is impressive. I have worked for several hours with a process of assistance today, and I've been writing some very difficult things, and I've just written the volitionalin.
Volitionalin. Do you know what is that? It's the hypothesis and try of the energetic, consciential energy. is the gasoline of your will.
Ainda deve ter a glicerina azul e a
Must
vermelha.
be
né?
the red and blue gasoline will. I have 9 big names for that kind of energy. Heine, Charles Richer, and all the names that they put for this energy, I use it. But if you take a look to the projectiology, we have more than 100 names for that. So it's a new name. These people who talked about that, it was at Zephyros time.
Professor, voltando
And I'm going to present this now. My idea has a very extraordinary logic. Volitionally comes from gasoline. It's the fuel of the will. The gasoline of the will. My gasoline is blue and has also additives. Professor, coming back to the intraphysical central issue, the mega euphorization has to do with that, isn't it? Yes, it's not that. Even the voltaic arc, but it's not just this, penta as well. We start assessing the extraphysical centers during the penta practice. There are a lot of people here who practice penta, and I think these people is assessing already the extraphysical center. But it's not easy. You have to work hard. What's the name you give for that? Yeah, you have to really work hard for that, to achieve that condition. But it's not easy, but there are people who has this experience already. So the helper is kind of a connection between you and the extraphysical center. So you are in your way to become this prototype plant. I've been trying to show it every day, day by day. And I'm bringing you a lot of details. So this process of the intraphysical center of energy, I am the one who is creating this process. Penta is creating this as well. So this is the way, it's unavoidable. But the best side of the history is to be the disseminator of something that was clandestine in the past. Penta used to be clandestine in the past. The voltaic arc was clandestine as well. The Serenissimos, they used to do those practices for a long time, and we didn't know about that. When I started to understand this many centuries ago, I asked why they hadn't disseminated this idea. Because people use this kind of energy or this kind of technique to kill people. You know, the Russian people, they started to kill frogs with those techniques. So it's something dangerous. But now, calmly and, step by step, we are showing this. But we must make choices. So we have the cosmetical alternatives to be taken. Otherwise, the intrusion is going to take place of this condition. We have to face the intrusion and the possession. Remember those people who suicided together with the priest? It was 975 people. They suicided all together. It's something really crazy. And how about Hitler and the Holocaust? Millions of people, they were right. Because the process of energy, if the person starts to understand that, it's something really practical. You don't need crutches, you don't need instruments to apply this technique. You have to value your own will. I've been here disseminating all this work. I haven't seen anyone killing other person using energy, but if the person uses the energy without a good intention, it's going to, the results are going to come back to the person, the bad results. But I haven't seen cases like that. But see, after the settlement of everything, I started doing this work at the university. So the practice was I was supposed to stop the person's energy. I did this with women scientists here in Brazil and abroad. And most of these people, they don't like things like that. You lose the friendship, you know, they become afraid of you. I remember there was a day that the guy was looking at me, and I told him, I'm not the Dr. Ozikran, the guy who used to hypnotize everyone. I told the guy I was not this guy, I'm not Dr. Ozikran. This name is related to Narcissus. So I met this guy. So he was a showman, you know. It was not easy. Did you understand that? In the interaxiology, what is missing? The interaction user-somatic machine.
Talvez eu tenha ficado com uma pequena
Maybe I have a doubt about how machine is the brain. No, it's your house, the proexogenic residence. It's a machine. Take a look. Everything is machine.
de montagem. Isso eu entendo.
I understand about that. What is the best way of to face an extra-physical called pomba gira? Is the woman not to exhibit herself? If she shows off too much, it's wrong. She must be discreet. Another name for that is someone who doesn't like to appear so much. Is your penta 24 hours a day? Another question. I think the day should have 36 hours or even 48. It varies a lot. It depends. And in a positive case, how do used to drive facing two realities? Oh, I couldn't see two different realities. There was a time that I saw something that happened. The traffic light changed and became red, turned red. And I thought, well, no, it's wrong. It is too fast. And then I was like waiting. And some seconds later, it became red. And it was wrong. So it was something related to energy, and I saw that. But I had never had accidents driving with this kind of condition. I have crashed my car, but not like that. Remember, I have my Volkswagen? Yeah? The Talmal indicated me to shelter my car. How can I do that?
Agora, se você fizer uma armadura,
if you make a shelter with this car,
você não vai sofrer nada.
We are going to take a rest because the guys are going to hit your car and we are not going to have any trouble with that. As I had seen before the 007 car in 65, I saw this car. There was an exposition in New York while I was with Chico Xavier. I got into this car and I saw how it was working. There was something that used to come out from the wheel, and I thought it was great, you know. And I was like studying the car in order to shelter my car. I was studying about the coach, so it was sheltering like a boat. There were a lot of weight in my car, but I could drive through the traffic jam. It was a little bit old. So when it was taken from me, they robbed all the banks in the Espírito Santo state. When they took the car, the police took the car back. It was destroyed. It was fallen apart, but it was the same car. I asked, how about driving it again? No, it's okay, it's incredible. So the car was really protected with all the conditions. I could not see the car again. Due to the process of the accident, they gave me the insurance. The insurance company gave me another car, and I turned this car to a special car with this money, and it was even better. I felt like leaving a message in this car for the robbers. The message would be, take care of this car. There's something special in it that, according with the situation, it can explode. I didn't put this message, but I felt like doing it. In that occasion, I had 75 different insurance bills. Everything that I had, all the cars and all the things, I had insurance for everything, but so every time I had a problem, I was just leaving to the insurance company the problems to be solved. I had never had any problem. I was going up in the street, there was a traffic light, and I stopped naturally. There was a turn in the near Meyer street, and there was a guy who came, and he hit my car in the back. I was the last car in the line, and he hit my car in the back. And then I got out of my car, and it was okay. He was
O
like,
outro cara
it was
não
like
parava,
snobbing the other car.
Tudo estraçalhado.
And the other car was like falling apart.
Tudo.
Everything was
Bateu
broken.
naquele gigante que estava lá, que era o para-choque do meu carro.
So
Não
the
sobrou nada. Aí eu vi o cara desolado. Ah, mas tem, vem cá, você tem
the
seguro?
bumper of my car was
Não,
very
mas
hard.
não entendi, não sei o quê.
And the guy didn't have insurance, and then I gave him a
Eu paguei o
check
negócio. Eu falei, o que você acha que a gente vai gastar aqui?
to pay.
Deu o cheque para ele e fui embora.
I gave him a
Mesmo
check
depois,
and I went
eu
away.
estava passando no Leblon.
After that, some months after that, I was passing
Olha,
by
está tinindo,
Leblon,
beleza, consertei
and I met the guy
aquele
again.
dinheiro meu, estou feliz da vida.
He was
E outra
grateful
coisa,
because of the
estou agora
money,
prestando mais
and he
atenção
told me
pra
that he
gente.
was paying
Que foi uma
attention
lição pra mim. Valeu, né?
in the traffic.
Ajudou o
You
cara.
know, I
Mas esse
helped
ficou
the car,
estraçalhadinho, mas ele consertou.
so the
Depois
car
falou,
was destroyed.
Para-choque, tudo do carro. E o carro dele era maior do que eu. Não era
And
tudo
his
certo.
car
O carro
was
dele era
even
maior.
bigger than mine.
Hein? Não, não chega, não é rabo peixe, não, mas era grandão.
It was a big car.
O dele era um daqueles
His
grandes,
car
do
was
tipo
kind
Alfa,
of
depois eu tive,
those from General Motors.
Não era rabo de peixe. Agora, então, nós temos que pensar nisso.
But we have to
Em
think
algum
about
momento
this.
a clarividência lhe atrapalhou.
Another
Pensei
question.
nessa pergunta ontem. Assim
In
que o senhor disse,
any
eu
moment
vi
the
esse
clairvoyance
conselho do senhor, uma que disse
disturbed
da
you.
Biblioteca de Alexandria. Não.
And
A gente tem que ter a divisão de atenção.
it doesn't disturb. We have to divide our attention. I have
Eu
this
presto atenção demais nas coisas e posso
for a
fazer
long
várias
time,
coisas
and I
simultaneamente.
pay attention in a
Agora,
lot
com
of
o tempo,
different things.
Nada disso atrapalha, não.
But
gente
it doesn't
fica mais,
disturb
vamos dizer,
anything. We become more
aberto, né?
open,
Consciente, lúcido.
aware, and lucid about the
Ao mobilizar
process.
as bioenergias, percebo um fluxo contínuo
When
de
I
energias
mobilize
que passam
energies, I
O fluxo
perceive
como
a
fosse
flow of
começa
energies
no
like
chakra
an electrical
e segue até o alto da cabeça.
uh,
A percepção é mais clara do lado esquerdo do som.
electrical
Isso ocorre devido à
flow
localização do
of
chakra.
energy. Is this
Aí
due
depende
to
da
the
pessoa,
chakras?
o que é que tem,
It depends on the person. It's something hard.
Tem que ver o caso.
We have to
Essa
analyze the
percepção
case.
que
This
tem
perception
energética e somática. Você poderia
is
ter a ideia da
energetical
equação
and
do som?
somatic.
Quais serão as repercussões
What
holossomáticas se eu
would
conseguir
be
manter esse
the
fluxo
holosomatic
energético mais tempo?
repercussion in
Você
order
vai
to
melhorar
keep
tudo.
this flow of
Outra coisa,
energy
vai
for
acabar com todos
more
os
time?
possíveis bloqueios de energia
Well,
que você tem.
you have to work with the energy and overcome all the energetical blocks you have. But I want to tell you something. I was today attending someone,
Aí eu falei sobre
and then I was
uma consciência que
talking
tinha
about
trazido
an
essa pessoa para falar
extra-physical
comigo.
who brought
Na
this
hora que eu
person
falei,
to talk
a
to
gente
me.
começou a lembrar
And
já
we
de
started
outra pessoa
to
que-
remember about this person,
Então, tinha
about
outro
some
amigo também que
friends,
lembrou. Ele lembrou do amigo. Na hora
And
que
the
ele
guy
falou isso, eu senti
thought about
que ele
his
só
friend,
também sentiu.
and we both felt the presence
Sabia
of
da história,
this
não sabia
extra-physical.
que o cara já dessomou nem nada.
I didn't know about this guy,
Foi um grande amigo meu.
but it was a friend of mine as well, of mine, and it was
E outra
his
coisa,
friend
ele era
too.
amigo desse outro, dessa consciência que trouxe o homem aí.
And
Então você
there's another guy who was a friend of this other guy.
Não tem jeito. Você nunca encontra com a pessoa a primeira
There
vez.
is no way.
Tem
You never
sempre alguma ligação anterior.
meet someone for the first time.
Sou docente do curso Assistenciologia.
I am a
Percebo que é um
teacher
curso muito
in the
desafiador
course
para
of
todos.
Assistenciology. It's a challenge even for
Quais
the
são as
Penta Practitioner.
recomendações
What are the
quanto à
recommendations
autoassistência para maximizar a
related
assistência aos
to
alunos?
the
A
assistance
melhor coisa
to
que
the
você
students?
faz
The best
é
thing
ficar
is
bem
to
tranquilo,
be calm,
fazer o relax,
relax,
procurar dormir com
and
calma
sleep
e
well.
comer também frugalmente.
And you have
Não
to
coma
eat
demais. Às vezes é muito
just a little.
importante
Don't
você
eat
decidir.
too much. It's very important for the energies.
Depois vai fazer
For example,
assim,
you
rasgar
eat a
dor
whole
de barriga nele, que pode
chicken
dar até
and,
vontade
you know,
de
you're gonna
fazer
feel bad.
essa energia que vai mexer nele.
And it's going
Ele fala,
to
formação de
deal with your
Começou no
energy.
dia 9,
Information about the course, it started on the next August,
muito acentuada.
last
Você tá
August
comigo,
9,
vamos em frente.
in Santa
Olha
Catarina.
aquilo ali, tá muito bom.
Okay, it's a good work.
O que interessa mais é o mecanismo
Another
evolutivo.
question.
Uma
What
pessoa que faz assistência, 50 consciências através da
is
alguém
best?
que faz assistência,
Someone who
100%
assists
vai contar com.
50
Esse cara
people
daqui, ele usou a taça,
using
melhor
the
nível
clarification test, or someone who helps 100 people
informação
using consolation
vale
quest.
muito mais do que você dá
You know,
uma mão
one
pra pessoa comer.
information
Eu gosto mais de manga, mas não dá.
has more value than
Não dá certo.
giving a mango to someone to eat, for example. So I think it is something like that.
Assediador. Olha o resultado. Você se sentiu bem?
How
Ou
do
ressaca?
I perceive if I'm receiving a vibrational rate from an intruder or
Tudo bem, então é amparador.
a helper?
No livro,
You gotta analyze the
o
results.
professor escreve que as consciências sadias e doentes podem se interar em detalhes do que se passa nos pensamentos da consciência através da telepatia interdimensional.
So through the multidimensional telepathy,
Depende.
can an extraphysical too
Mas ele chega perto de você.
have the power to understand what we were thinking? Sometimes you accept the negative, the extraphysical accepts your negative energies, so it depends who you are dealing with. How long does it take for us to get rid of the blind guys? I'm living in my parents' house and the pressure is increasing day by day. They work with the spiritualism. Out of my house, it's easy to install the vibrational state, but within my house or my parents' house, it's impossible. But I'm trying to keep my discernment up. So you are saying something about this obsession, and if it's related to the spiritism, they call it white table. It's one thing, but it's related to something black, you know, the black religions. It's going to take a little longer. It's a problem. You have to exercise energy until a point that you could shelter yourself. By the time that you can get this, it's going to be possible to shelter these people, these extraphysicals. You are going to exteriorize energy and they are going to get away. Can you comment about the Cartesian, the principle that based the physics of Newton? Do you consider the natural phenomenon able to be measured? Is the nature considered a functional machine, obeying the relation of casualities? The phenomenon, the physical phenomenon could be explained through experience of the movement of the material.
Dando continuidade à hipótese cartesiana do animal-máquina. O corpo humano.
Is the human body doing the Cartesian dualism would be a machine conducted by the soul?
Por incrível que pareça.
Yes, it's something like that. Do you know who wrote this? Arlindo.
Arlindo Alcadipani.
Arlindo Alcadipani. Professor, here in front of you.
São duas perguntas. Uma,
I have two
você pode
questions.
explicar melhor
Could
aquele
you
efeito?
explain
Você acabou de
more
falar a
about
respeito
the
do sinal,
effect
que trocado para o verde, estava vermelho.
that
Que
you
efeito aconteceu?
just talked about the traffic lights? It's a physical effect. In that occasion, I was working with a lot of energy in order to sustain a very serious process. I was going to work
E tinha
in the morning, and there was a
que havia que eu conhecia, que passava todo dia com meu filho.
cross, a deadlock that I used to pass through every day. In that day, in the morning, I had just woken
Na
up.
hora que cheguei,
By the time that I got there,
eu fiquei
the
esperando para
traffic light just turned
etc, tal, o negócio tudo ali. Isso tudo é no
green.
negócio passando. Quando eu vi,
When I saw there was a change in the traffic light, and I thought it is not possible. It's not possible. There was something like very weird, and the sign
deve acontecer com todo mundo
appeared
que
in red
tem
again.
físico.
And then I thought it must happen with everyone who has physical effects. And that could explain a series of car accidents. And I studied that a lot.
Perguntei para ele se já
There was a
tinha
time that I met a
que
driver, and I was like asking him
chegou para mim e falou assim,
if he had some experience with that. He told me that
eles falaram que eu bobeei.
what happened to him was even worse than what happened to me.
Atravessei o sinal.
He crossed
Eu vi que o sinal
the
tinha
street.
mudado.
He saw that the
Agora,
traffic
eu
light
liguei pra
had
ele,
turned,
uma pergunta cretina.
and
Na
I
hora
made
que
a
você
stupid
estava
question
na
for
frente,
him.
estava. Você
Were
conseguiu
you in
justificar
front of everyone in the line? You went,
O negócio acontece.
you went through, and the other guys stayed.
Que a pessoa,
So that
ela
was the proof that you were wrong.
por processo de assédio.
So it's a process
Mas,
of
por exemplo, se
intrusion
só ele viu
doing-
o sinal
due to
trocar
the
e os outros não
energies.
viram, então pode-se considerar que foi um efeito físico, só que
Was
só ele
it
teve
an
esse
physical effect because of that?
O negócio
Yes,
é ele.
it was just him.
Bloquearam a visão dele.
Someone blocked
Você sabe,
his vision.
bloqueia outras coisas. Por exemplo, se coloca o bloqueio na cabeça da
If-
pessoa, por que não pode colocar fora?
The intruders could block your head. Why they couldn't block other things?
Rapaz, daí ele
I think this guy was an ectoplast.
era ectoplasma.
He
Na
was
verdade, foi
an
mexendo na
ectoplast.
percepção dele direto ou não?
Percepção.
Was it,
Veja,
did they
é um problema
dealt with
sério.
his perception?
Sabe por quê?
Yes,
Você
they
fica
did.
lá, você pode encapsular o carro com você.
You know,
E
it's
assim,
a
sabe,
very
né?
serious
Esse negócio
problem
é ruim,
because you
né?
can
Se o
shelter
coelho
your
tiver
car with you inside. And,
que é dentro do carro.
you know, that history that I tell, if the rabbit is within the garden and then you just make a fence around the garden with the rabbit in, so it's the same condition. The intruder could be inside the car
Outra coisa,
together with the guy.
vocês sabem que isso
Another
aconteceu.
thing-
Meus amigos da Rede Globo,
I have
quando estava para
friends on TV, Rede Globo,
do Piquet,
during to the inauguration
eles me
of
chamaram, eu fui
car
comigo,
racing
nessa ocasião. Isso é-
autódromos.
Eu
I
fui
was there.
aquele negócio
I
todo.
took the car.
Dois da TV Globo,
There were
eles estavam
two
procurando
guys from the
pra ser
TV. They were looking for
Fórmula 1, entrar na Fórmula. Eles viraram pra
people
mim assim, Waldo,
to get into the Formula
você
One.
é a pessoa que pode ser
They
vítima
told
da
me-
Você nunca bateu o carro. Você
They
falou,
told me that I would be a good example because I had never crashed my car.
Tinha um deles que tinha feito várias viagens comigo.
So
Eu ria com o
one of
Fusca,
this guy,
o Fusca, então, boiava
one of
no
these
mar.
guys used to travel with me,
E eu
so
passava.
he knew
Ele sabia disso tudo. Eu
my
falei, "Tá na
style.
hora. Você gosta de mexer com um negócio aí para andar tudo certinho? Entra nessa.
Get
Eu falei,
into
"Assim,
this
eu,
sport."
na verdade,
And then I told
você é um
him,
menino doido, isso
I'm
é
not supposed to use that to do
Eu
that.
vim aqui porque você
I'm
me
not
chamou.
a
Eu
child.
sou contra esse negócio dessa Fórmula 1. Isso é loucura.
I am against this sports. I'm against Formula One. There's gonna be deaths here.
E o cara sai de lá assim e vai em cima da
So
plateia. Isso
the
é que é
worst
uma
part is when they kill themselves and they kill other people.
processo.
Racing cars is
De
something
noite, eu tive estudando essa
really
coisa,
hard. I've been studying all these things
Isso aí,
in
gente,
real.
1967.
This is during the 60s.
Nessa época, eu dirigi até 74.
And I drove until 1974. So after that, I got a driver.
Outra pergunta é aqui no verbete, na
Another
página
question
16,
is here in the entry,
na
page 16,
politicologia,
politicology.
a automotocracia.
The automotocracy. Could you explain about that? You don't know about that? It's the time that the person learn how to drive. We have a lot of ladies here that got into this condition. They didn't drive before. It's the democracy of the personal car. This term is created in the United States. I think people here are from this condition. Everybody is related to the automocracy. She is the one, she drives very well. Here in cognitology, we have big box machine.
Agora aqui na página 19, esse cosmograma aqui da bibliografia.
Professor, on page 19, the cosmogram of the specific bibliography. Could you clarify what happened in that specific case? The cosmogram of the specific bibliography, the number 2, o perigo do relax virtual, it's the second item, or the danger of the virtual relax. Devices with colorful lights and relaxing sound provoke coma in a young Italian. Well, yes, have you seen that Pokemon, the game, because of the repetition and the colors, it causes seizures in people, and it has to do with the dog that runs after the wheel of the car. It's just like the same thing. It's a matter of repetition of certain traits, and it creates problems because of the photonics. It's the problem of your ocular globe. It goes to your occipital, and it causes problems to the person. Here, what I show is that the virtual relax, this colorful device, is a danger, because you never know if that person has a disposition to a seizure or something like that. If the person suffers frequently from seizures, it's not good for him. It could give him an epileptic aura and create problems. It has to do with your neurological processes, together with your eyes. It has to do with your brain processes. What didn't you understand in this case? Yes, basically that. But now down there, you will see those cosmograms. It's everything down there. The ones I list here come from Holocycle. Waldo, on A, I would like to understand here, in factology, the fifth line, the synapsological cerebral machine of the mental soma. I would like you to elaborate on that. Well, the mental soma functions in the human body by means of your synapses. The most important thing is the synapses. Everybody has neuronals, but the synapses are very important because it depends on what the person does, the actions, the studies, what the person does after all, and then it changes with the course of time. If you activate your mind a lot with discernment, logics, reasoning, if you have rich and intensive intellectual life, you will have more synapses. But if you are performing just labor works, it will be related to your cerebellum, which is psychomotricity. only. Muscles and so on. That's why we say that the desirable is to work out, to keep your body health, but to do intellectual and mental somatic exercises to evolve. Work out your muscles doesn't make you evolve. What does is to work with your mind. What I would like to understand, Professor, is the mental soma influencing, impacting on the brain. Well, it does. It makes the person reflect more, think in depth, come up with new ideas. When the person has a very developed mental soma, but this mental soma is not worked. Well, yes, most people are just on the surface. They have difficulties in coming up with their books because they're not used to writing down their ideas, and it's a problem. But anyone can achieve that. It's just a matter of getting started. Those who look for something end up finding that something. One more doubt, Professor, concerning lucid projection. When we have a lucid projection and we find ourselves in a certain environment, seeing an object, or we're just in a very different place from the ones here in an intraphysical dimension. How can we bring that information from there to this dimension? Well, the person has to highlight what was the main thing, the cream, the cherry on top of your experience. So you have to highlight, to single out that word, that idea, synthesizing, summing up your experiment, and then you can discard the rest. So you have to really restore that thing's the pinnacle of the experience, the acumen, the peak. That's what's important. But Professor, when it's an object, an instrument, something, well, the person has to see what the instrument is. The person has to know with your memory, analyze, and come to see what it is. Sometimes it's very important to see what language, what subtitle, what name. It's very difficult. The less things the person will store. But sometimes, because of your extra-physical emotion that's interacting there, kind of an emotion or something like that, instinctive, it will make you store that energy. But we don't recommend that as a technique. You have to work with your rationality, with discernment. It's better. Yes, Professor, I've seen that when we are in a certain dimension and there is advice that's different. When we come back, our brain will transform that into a different thing. Well, yes, the person's imagination. And more often than not, for those who daydream a lot, they will alter everything they saw, and it's nonsense. The person has to be aware of his possibilities, looking upon things with rationality. You can't just daydream and use fantasies. It's imagination, and it won't help much. One thing that you can do to see how your imagination is to interpret clouds. Take 3 people with you and see clouds and ask them what they see. It's just like Moshe. It's that test. It's the same thing. It will vary a lot. It will depend on each one's ideas, associations. Everything is imagination. I would like to know if Roberto Leimig is there. Is he? Roberto, please. Go up to the door.
Agora veja esse nosso amigo que está na sua frente. Aí, para aí.
Yes,
Esse
stop
nosso
there.
amigo que tá na sua
Now look at
Olha
this
pra
friend of ours there.
frente. Eu quero apresentar a vocês.
I'd like to introduce you
Ele
to one another.
É experiente em macacologia.
He
ou seja,
is
primatologia.
very experienced
Modo
in
que o
primatology.
Roberto é doutor
And
dos primatas.
Roberto
E ele aí, gente, agora
is very good at the study of monkeys, and this guy is one of the best in the science of monkeys that I've ever seen here in Foz, and he was invited to go to attend a congress in Japan
que eu vi a listagem lá dos países, são mais de 15 países.
with
Só
people
pra-
from over 15 countries, only primatologists.
Aqui, que era um caso da gente-
So there are some people who I think we should study in depth here. Some friends of mine, I think.
Outra coisa, ele estava falando com ele, que eu admiro que
But
muita gente
I was
deve matar.
telling him that he agrees with me. We both think that several people are still monkeys.
Seria bom, Roberto,
But
conversar.
Roberto, it will be
Olha bem aí o cara.
good for you both to interact with each other. So it's a matter of guinea pig consciousness. We can't discard such opportunities. You've never seen a primatologist in your life, for example. I've seen in the US, but not here. He's the first one.
Agora veja,
But
vamos
see,
ver se ele vai estudar os gorilas.
and let's see if he's
Então, aí
going
a gente tem
to
que estudar. Aqui tem gorilas,
study the chimpanzees,
Esse
the several species of monkeys. Here we have them all.
congresso que vai ter no Japão.
This congress that will take place in Japan is promoted by the International Society of Primatology, and the idea is to have 14
diferentes locais do mundo.
people of different countries in the world with monkeys.
Então, assim,
So
o critério para participar era que
the criterion to participate is to work in a country where there are monkeys.
O nome dela é Adriana Chalita.
I'm about to tell Adriana Chalita to go to this place because she understands
expliquei nada.
a lot about monkeys, and I didn't explain anything here.
Tá certo.
Adriana, eu tenho assim.
Agora,
Eu tenho as minhas, vamos dizer, totais racionalidades nisso aí.
Well, I have all arguments to support this.
Mas olha, eu preciso saber porque que eu não falando.
I have the grounds to support my claim, but
a
A Adriana conhece. Além disso,
Adriana knows a lot about that. And in addition, she's a psychiatrist.
pode escrever.
mas, professora, eu queria aproveitar, assim, já...
Professor, I would like to seize this opportunity to make a question. Yes, of course, we don't charge anything.
Máquina consciencial, né?
Professor, we're talking about consciential
Eu queria,
machine.
assim, que o senhor expusesse um pouco
I
mais
would
essa
like
questão
you to
sobre a máquina biológica.
talk about
forma
the
biológica.
biological machine, the biological form we have,
Seria possível,
and
por
how
exemplo,
it works. For example, is it possible for
grupo
a helper
assumir uma forma biológica
to take on a biological
no sentido
form,
de auxiliar nesse processo de transição
in a sense, in the way of helping specifically? Yes, he does, but extraphysically, not intraphysically though. There is no regression of the consciential process, but in the extraphysical dimension, there is the transfigurability of the psychosoma, which is this part body of the emotions, the desire of the person. So the psychosoma can be altered, and you can show up as a person, you can change your gender, you can show up as an animal,
mas
as a youngster, as an old man, and so on. But Professor, talking specifically about monkeys, no, it's impossible.
da genética, raciocínio
Due to
próprio,
genetics,
biológico é igual
follow my reasoning, it's not logical.
a matemática.
Genetics is mathematical, there's no way out of
Outra
it.
coisa, que o povo também raciocina errado.
Another aspect that people think wrongly is
Os entrantes.
to think of the theory of the
E aquela consciência sai e o outro
entrantes. It means the ones that will enter into the body of another person and will occupy the body for life. It's impossible. If you change a little thing, for example, in your brain, it will impact on your body. So we can't change it all. It's irrational. It's illogical. So this theory in the 70s, many people would like to support that idea. It's ridiculous.
Está entendendo? A mesma coisa é isso aí.
And this is the same thing. What we have to understand is the transfigurability of the person's outfits due to this natural transformation of the psychosoma is completely possible, but physically, no way. So, for example, a person could suffer from possession a certain period, or the person is under the influence of a different consciousness. And then that the consciousness will speak through the other, but you will never leave your body so that another one can occupy it for life. It doesn't work like that. And just to give you an overview of the whole thing. And another thing is that the problem of regressive reincarnation, when the person goes back to a cockroach, as they say in India, don't kill this cockroach because it was my grandmother. It's nonsense. There is this precept, this philosophy. It's the metempsychosis. Metempsychosis doesn't take place. It's the process of the psyche that goes back to a past life form. The person may go back in time or in evolution, but as a man, not to become a cockroach again. It's religious, the Orientalism religions nonsense. Yes, the biological form is incompatible, right, Professor? Yes, and biology doesn't doesn't allow mutilation. It's a principle of mind. Biology doesn't admit mutilation. So the more you avoid any mutilation or any surgery, the better. I've always been in favor of the economical surgery. You have to take out the less of the person. The person has to keep all the parts that were assembled and that came out from the factory. In the human body, everything was assembled according to a plan, and there is an indication. You may have studied that in zoology, in biology, and so on. There are things we don't understand very well yet. Some organs that whose function we don't understand yet. Appendix, for example, we don't understand very well. The timo, for example, I thought that it may persist in some people after a while, and today they acknowledge this. But there are many things to be studied still. Many things from zoology, biology. It's fascinating. I think there is a wide range of things to be studied. If I could, I would go with you to Japan. Well, yeah, if I could take you with me, Professor, it would be great. Yes, because I studied there in Japan and I know how it is. And sparks will fly there because it will be very interesting. You will spark off a very heated debate on the topic. Let's see if we can take a look at the annals of the proceedings of the event. It would help a lot. I don't know how primatology is nowadays, but I think that there are still monkeys in the form of humans.
Entra na questão da consciência, né?
Yes, it's just like those primitive consciousnesses, right, Professor? Yes. And it's very interesting to see a blonde person who's a monkey, but
Existe os
because it's very difficult to see blonde monkeys.
Eu já encontrei muito ruivo.
I've seen red-haired,
E já vi alguns louros. Que eu
and I've seen some blondes that I consider to be monkeys, and it's extraordinary if you think of it. So I would like to see what
Quando é mesmo
you will discuss that. When will that take place? September 5? Well, yeah, within
ele é que é feliz que
a few days. Yes, it's extraordinary.
Tem.
You're curious about it?
E
Yes.
eu tenho vontade, não é por causa de vocês.
I am curious about that, not because of you.
Mas tá.
Olha só, sobre o processo da holomemória e do resgate.
Professor, concerning hollow memory and the recovery of cons, when we find a person that we have an affinity with and it has a repercussion on the time, space, and geography, the question is it convenient or inconvenient from the point of view of discretion to approach this person and ask things on the mutual recallings? Well, the first thing is to see if the person is easy to be impressed or not. You have to see the quality of your questions and the environment, the context where you are. You have to make very skillful questions. You can't just
Com jeito, isso é obtido.
try to be
Se consegue.
very curious about the person's life. It may be a bit intrusive. And when you say, Professor, about your tendencies, the things you like to see what you carry throughout your existential situation. So it's a way to carry out an analysis of what you've been carrying. Well, yes, but before analyzing that, you have to see what are the preferences or the tendencies of the person today. And that's the starting point to look into the other things. You have to see the contemporary context to see how it's like. It's a better approach, I think.
Você não pode querer tirar uma ideia nova a respeito
Because
de você ou de outra pessoa.
you can't come up with a new idea about the person's past or your own past if it doesn't have to do with your
Você não pode
daily life nowadays.
Foi.
You can't see, for example, in a past life you were a Serenissimus and now you are a Pre-Serenissimus. It's impossible. It's not compatible. But because of your manifestations, your traits, and so on, you will eventually see that the person's curriculum. That's why in Conscious, the conscientiogram is very interesting to study.
Agora pense nesse aspecto.
But you have to consider this chronemics.
É o processo da cronêmica.
Eu
Agora
queria,
aqui.
olha, só sobre primata ainda.
Professor,
Porque
just
no
about
Brasil
monkeys.
avançam muito na
In Brazil,
farmacologia,
they advanced a lot in pharmacology
com relação
because of
ao
their
comportamento
study
alimentar dos
on
animais, quando estavam
the
doentes,
animals'
então, a boa parte da referência
feeding
que
behavior,
nós somos referências
and we are reference to on this field. We have very good studies, so we have scientists that are
fez mestrado nessa área.
worldwide known, and we have Patrícia Carvalho with a master's degree in this field.
A gente pode colocar os dois no contato.
Estudou os gorilas, né?
But
Fizeram até filme.
what's very interesting is that a woman who studied the gorillas,
A gente pode apresentar a Patrícia Carvalho também.
we could introduce him to Patrícia Carvalho. Is she around here?
Esses dias.
Well, yeah, she's been here, but when are you?
Hein?
Alô,
Until when are you going to be here? Well, unfortunately, I will have to leave today, but
Tem que ir para o Japão. Não é fácil.
well, yeah, he's got to travel to Japan. Not easy. Well, yeah, but it's good to know that there is a group here, a group of biologists. You know that biology is my field, right? You can't.
Não apareceu. Vocês têm que lembrar, eu estudei com uma
You have to see that I studied with
Bia Steiner,
a Lady B. Steiner, who was
biologia, mas era mais na parte
a
da
biologist specialized in marine biology,
Ela lançou trabalho até no exterior.
and she published
Da Fundação Oswaldo Cruz.
abroad also. She's from the Fundação Oswaldo Cruz, a renowned Brazilian institution
Bravo,
with a double microscope to study several things. She was
fascinante.
great, and biology is fascinating. It's extraordinary.
Página 17, poderia falar
On
pouco
page
sobre o uso do frontochakra na prospecção da multidimensionalidade.
17, argumentology, could you talk about the use of frontal chakra to prospect, to plan ahead your behavior in the
Parafenômeno.
extraphysical dimension? Yes, okay, it's a very serious phenomenon. I would like to remind you of one thing. From all our senses,
Todo mundo sabe.
what's the most important one? Everybody knows that it's the vision. So from all the parasenses or the paraperceptions you have, which is the one that will lead you to a better level? It's the frontal chakra because of your clairvoyance. So pangraphy that encompasses everything has to come from clairvoyance.
Nós falamos no processo do parapsiquismo.
And the clairvoyance we talk about in parapsychism is not only a matter of seeing, but it's a matter of analyzing depth, knowing
Você olha para a pessoa
grasp
e vê
what happens. You will look at the person and you will see what's in the person's past. It's more than clairvoyance.
Vocês estão entendendo, né?
Nevertheless, it's still clairvoyance. So the frontal chakra is of utmost importance for
Principalmente caminhando para o processo
analyzing
que é a reunião de
the
vários
extraphysicality.
simultâneos.
It's even more important in the pangraphy because you conjugate all the power perceptions towards the same aim.
Não, eu tive
In what context did Zephyr live? What was his praxis? Well, it's a very
depois ficou esse
ancient life of mine, but then I had this
ultimamente
name, Zephyr, but
foram mais ou menos 2 séculos.
lately, like 2 centuries ago, I had been preparing this current life
Tentar
to face Loshi, to face this team
200 anos.
that's here. I've been preparing myself for 200 years. That's why people say that I
Eu
am
penso que o negócio aí
patient and so on. I think that's it.
eu não estou mentindo.
But you know that I'm not lying. I'm not cheating you. Why?
Não, é porque
I'm not exaggerating here.
não, vamos só pensar com racionalidade.
Let's just think logically.
Vocês, eu fui atrás
Most of you,
para
I
temporizar, fazer lá o livro da Malva.
helped, like that Malu's book, Reconciliation,
Por exemplo,
to solve the group karmic intrusion. Pilar Alegre, for example, I must have
alegrinha.
worked with something of hers so that she's very happy here with us. But it wasn't only me,
Transmentor.
it was Transmentor with our friends
Eu estou incluído
that hunted us, and I am included in this group.
por aí.
But you're right, you are in this.
Caçar macacada. O processo todo é um processo de primatologia.
Yes,
Antes de mais nada.
so it's a process of primatology,
É uma bênção.
first and foremost. But see,
A hora que você olha
it's
pra trás e
a
vê que você
blessing
tem mais calma.
when you look behind and you see that you have no more tail.
Pense bem nisso.
Think
O
of
cara
this.
estava lá muito preocupado dia.
This guy was there, very worried. It happened in Rio when we set up the IIPC
Problema do cordão.
and the Instituto Internacional de
Tem gente que
Projeciologia,
toma isso na base de assediador.
and people were
A pessoa pensa que tem um assediador que está puxando, que ela acaba entrando pro corpo.
mistaking
Isso é um fato.
the silver cord for intruders. And I said, yes, that's true, because I've seen many people saying that. And then this friend of mine said, but then it's terrible, this silver cord. I said, no, it's not. What's terrible is your tail, because it's below that, because the silver cord is here, but the tail is down below. So it's tough, isn't it? And then I told him, Have you seen some animals' tails, the size of their tails? Look, some tails, the monkey's tails, for example, and wherever they go, they carry that. Some even hang themselves with the aid of their tails. So I think of it and see nowadays, when you take your showers, look behind and you will see that you no longer have tails. And it's great, isn't it? So, let's celebrate this condition of ours. Yes, Professor, I had this experience and I remember that because I was out of my body, but then I felt in a spiral way that I came back to my body. Yes, the silver cord, but the worst is the tail.
Can you comment about Gerard, Anacleto, and Hansen close? Could you comment about the technique of consecutive personality? Yes, he has studied, but he was weak in this research because he had a process of initiation and he was in trouble with the rituals. We don't need all those things anymore. Think about it. I think I know who wrote this email, but the person didn't say anything here. So if you are the one who studies a lot, so go on with this study. How about these shoes? How can we face this situation? The guy had solved his problem with the pombagira, and now he wants to solve it with the shoes. His shoes are the same as intruders. They look like someone who comes to carnival. They have a lot of colored things, but they are intruders. And when you are out of your body and a personality like this shows up, you have to exercise energy over this extra-physical, and if you have a good intention, everything is going to be alright. You can get rid of this consciousness, extra-physical consciousness. And this is the process. He is the husband of the pombagira. It's something equivalent. I received in my imagistic proof test. I had like a little box with 7 divisions with something that goes around. What is the main use of those supplements? The idea is something like this. It makes a little noise. Can you perceive that? Must be well done. Otherwise, it's going to get dirty. Sometimes you have to clean it with alcohol. Open it and put in a bowl with alcohol. You know, because you deal a lot of these little objects, so you have to clean it sometimes. We have 100 millions of bacteria, so if you use alcohol, it's going to minimize a little bit. And you have to close this case. There are some of these that are with this shape, but those are not so good. This one is the best. Sometimes I put in my pocket the medicines, and I also have some paper. I put this in my pocket, and the paper is going to minimize the temperature because our body is hot. And there are some medicines that lose the effect. So
Olha
you
bem
have
nesse
to be
processo,
careful.
temperatura.
Temperatures is something really
Já
important for
estudei o
you to
processo de
analyze.
encapsulamento, mas acho
I
que não
have
compreendi
studied
na
the
prática.
process
E agora
of
você
sheltering,
falando sobre
and I think I
caso gerou-me
haven't
dúvida.
understood this.
Você poderia esclarecer mais
Could
sobre
you
esse
clarify
processo?
more
Aproveitando
about
devido à
this
sua pesquisa,
process?
você foi perseguido durante a ditadura
Were you
militar?
persecuted during the military
Caso todo
dictatorship?
Sobre o
It's
problema
another question.
da gente encapsular.
So the first problem you have, sheltering problem. It's something really hard with concerning parapsychism. It's for those who have dominated already a lot of phenomena, vibrational states, the voltaic arc, and all those things in this sense. These people can do the sheltering. But it must be by the person himself, and later this person can do with others. And if the person is out of his body and he or she meets someone out of the body, like a shoe or something like that, an intruder or intruder satellite, this person must exteriorize energy to do the sheltering extraphysically. But the person must be self-confidence in the self-will and a good intention. When you do the sheltering, you must have good intention. With bad intention, it's not going to work. And concerning to the military dictatorship, I had in that time some contact with some people. In that time I had a clinic in Copacabana when I used to attend a lot of people. So I attended people who were related to these people, but I don't know what happened with these people. I used to attend people from both sides of this war, so the people who were for and against dictatorship. But recently, someone saw my file, and I asked this person to get a copy of this file, the file from the dictatorship time. But I don't know. There are things that happen that I'm very curious about. So I want to know about the political point of view of these people. They never called me to go there. I used to have a house in Rio and in São Paulo, and I had contact with all these people. It's hard to talk about that, but I want to talk about the subject, not exposing people. I had contact with people who had contact with other people, which were, in the power. So there was kind of network, channel, communication nets. So that's the way I see the situation. I saw people from this inside of this process. But I used to attend all people that I met at that time. Here, why would you have a file in the DOPS, the dictatorship department? Because those who had these files were the supporters of the Communist Party. I was doing assistance at that time. It was for free. I had a clinic in Uberaba. They used to think that I was communist, but you are a communist, aren't you?
Mas o senhor é, né?
But you are a communist, aren't you? So, okay. I am a communist, but I'm even more socialist. I'm not like my brother. You know my brother? He was totally communist. And I told him that I could not belong to a party. I worked with PTB, because of Mario, my friend, because we wanted to elect him. He changed my life. I had to do something for him. So he helped a lot, and I had to give something back. But in terms of politics, I never wanted to belong to any party. And there were like syndicates that I was, union that I worked with at that time. It's a matter of entrepreneurship, you know. There was a time that I was in Santos when the enumerator told me, go there and attend a guy who was in that place. I didn't know nothing about the guy, so the extra-physical, I trust in him, the enumerator. So I went there, I was like checking his psychosphere, and I was asking him, what are you doing here? You are a priest, aren't you? But you are infiltrated here. What do you want with me? He almost fainted in front of me. And he was like, no, I'm here in behalf of someone, and he told me everything, and I'm just giving you an example. I have a lot of different examples with this kind of situation. My team used to tell me, oh, there's a spy in the audience. Take a look, Waldo. And I had all of these experiences. I used to attend also the high society in Rio. And I used to have a lot of people from other countries. And I want to know why they wanted to know about me in that time. So, you know, there are a lot of histories about me on the internet, and I really want to know what they used to think about me in that time. That's why I want to know about my file. Another question. I used to shelter my car when I pass through some places, and my question is, by doing that, are we in danger because we are sheltering our cars and other people are not seeing it? No, it's not like that. The car doesn't become invisible. There is nothing to do with this. The car is there. Sometimes people think about that because of my Beetle. Do you know that street, that uphill, there's a turn? The guy was stopping and I did the same. It was a traffic jam. By the time that he turned, he was hitting my car. So that street is really hard. There are a lot of people that hits other cars even now. Another question. I have a research about longevity. I am a geriatric, and I perceive that most of the patients, they just give up about discernment. Is there a way of the gerons to become consciential machines? Yes, I think so. You can change in 1 year. You have an example here. She is bad. She is a doctor in the technique of 1 more year of life. So this person could help you, could clarify you about how to use this technique. In 1 year, you can change your destiny completely. Another thing. Could you talk about macrosoma and a good development of a consciential machine? Macrosoma is something when you had a good achievement in previous bodies, in other lives. So you have the merit and they give you a very well-equipped body for this life in order to perform, for you to perform your extraphysical, your praxis. But you must have merit for this. Flora Miranda is the one who is asking this. She knows everything about this subject. She's very well. You have comments some tertulias ago that we could achieve 250 years old. Could you talk more about that? Michio Kaku is the scientist. I'm not kidding. Michio Kaku is his name. He has recently appeared on TV, and I've been following him for a long time. He is one of the most important scientists in the world that admits that the man could achieve 150 years old, and he studies and he thinks that it's possible. And there are also people who believes that it's also possible because we have a lot of different machines and the medicine. And these people really believe that it's possible to achieve 250 years old. It's going to be a process that it's going to take place little by little. It's not something that can be done suddenly. But, you know, people are talking about people who are living 100 years already. But the problem is to see the noble parts of the body. There are a lot of people who are studying this. I have written, in my research with cosmogram, there was a person who received 20 shots in her body, and nothing happened to this person. And the bullet was within the person, so this person got the shot just in the places in her body that were not noble, were not vital. So, if the person has the ability, the capacity of taking a look of these noble parts of the body, and the person takes care of these organs, these parts, and at the same time the person takes care of the mental somatic process or the intellective process, and you know, the person can deal with both the organs and the mental soma activated. What are these parts of the body? The lungs, the liver, kidneys. Today we have different conditions. If the person has a problem in the gastrointestinal process, you can just get it right. You could give your intestine to someone because it's very big. But it's not the same with the kidneys or the lungs. It's a problem having lungs. Heart, you have just one. You cannot give to someone your heart. If it's possible, if the medicine takes care of you like that, 250 years biology is going to be to deal with genotherapy. We have also the nanotechnology, and the people are starting research about that. Everything is going to get better. The human biology could pass to a positive transfiguration. It's going to be renewed. So the person is going to live more because of that. That's why I started talking about that for a long time, that the evolution, the IC, has to show the children that it's possible to live more than 100 years for the children to take care of herself. Otherwise, the child is going to exaggerate, get super excited with hyperactivity, start using drugs, and, that's what old people would say. This person is not going to live for a long time because the person abused of the body. So during his or her young time, the person has abused of the body. So the person spoiled his own body before the right time. There is a music that talks about that. Do you know the music?
Eu vi essa semana
I've seen this week a technique that used the milk tooth of the child,
que eles consideram virgem.
And they have those cells, the virgin cells.
Muito bacana.
They use these cells for renewing the tissues. I used to talk about that since the 60s. To talk about regeneration, you can take the little finger of the child. You can make the regeneration here. You have to see how it works. This is even easier, the little finger of the child. If there's some problem, you have to use this technique in order to get a regeneration. And if it works, you can apply in the rest of his or her body. It's something really nice. What I think it's nice is that the person, there is no reaction, because there is no circulation of antibodies. What I think, Erica, is that if I had more time, I would write a book about that. It would be a book related to how to live with the aches. After 70 years old, you have aches all over your body.
Você tem a dor e ela não faz nada com você. Você consegue superar aquilo.
You have the aches and it doesn't make any difference for your body. So if the people understand that, they wouldn't get desperate because of that. You know that example that the woman that breaks the nail. So we have to transform the weak profile into a strong profile. We need to do that in order to prepare people to live even more. Okay, now it's time for the advertisements, the punctuations. The fact was 136 signatures in the present book, 14 online on-site questions, 25 online questions. We have 5 different messages here.
Alexandre, primeiro encontro, Colégio Invisível para a Genetologia, Carla, CP3, Uberaba, Semana da Saúde, Loche, Heterocrítica, e Marcos, Malo, Cine Club.
Heterocritic and Marcos and Malo about Cine Club. Good afternoon, all.
Gostaria de convidar
I'd like you to invite you for the first meeting of the Invisible College of Paragenetology on September 19th.
E no final do evento nós vamos fazer uma oficina de recognição com o Epicom Moacir.
Or 7 p.m.
O objetivo desse primeiro encontro do colégio é exatamente
meeting is going to be
fazemos as correlações entre a autopesquisa
make the
e a
relation between
especialidade da
self-research and
paragenetologia. O local vai
subfield
ser no auditório da Holoteca. O
paragenetology.
preço é R$15,
The
um
place is
preço
the
bem módico, bem
Holoteca
pequeno.
room.
E as inscrições poderão
And
ser realizadas com a professora Tânia Guimarães e com a voluntária Tereza Martins.
Tânia Guimarães.
O CAEC vai fornecer apenas as
CAEC
informações sobre o
just
evento.
the information about
Obrigado
the
a
event.
todos, uma boa tarde.
Thank you very much.
Boa tarde a todos.
Good
Nós
afternoon
estamos
all.
aqui
We
para
are here
divulgar
to
o
disseminate
ECP3,
the
que é um
Advanced
curso
3,
sem
which
pré-requisitos,
is a course
é de
without
imersão, 3
prerequisites.
dias em hotel,
It's an immersion
onde o
course,
aluno
3 days in a
desfruta
hotel,
energizações
where
individuais.
the student can
Este
receive
ano, o curso vai
individual
acontecer nos dias
energizations.
3,
It's going
4
to
e
take
5 de
place
setembro
on
em
September
Uberaba,
3,
no Hotel
4 and
Shelton
5
Inn,
in the
com o Epicom Mário
Shelton Inn
Oliveira.
Hotel with the
E atenção,
Epicom Mário
você
Oliveira.
que mora nos núcleos de
For those
extensão
who
ou
lives-
em qualquer cidade
lives,
que ainda não tem
in
um
other
centro educacional da
cities
conscienciologia,
that doesn't have
sinta-se
a center
especialmente
of
convidado a
conscientiology,
participar deste curso e
you
ajudar
are
na
invited to
consolidação da
participate in
conscienciologia
this
na sua
course.
cidade.
And
Contato e maiores
we have a
informações
contact and
através do
further
e-mail
information through the
ecp3@iipc.org.br. Obrigada.
Thank you very much.
Boa tarde, pessoal.
Good
Lembrando a
afternoon.
todos que de 15 a 27 de outubro de
Between 15 and
2010 agora,
27
nós vamos ter a Semana da Saúde
October,
em
we
Évora
have
Monte,
the
no campus da IAC em Portugal.
Week of
Além do curso de
Health
imersão Progestoterápica,
in
além do
Évora
curso
Monte,
de praxis
em
multidimensional
Portugal.
e também do próprio evento da Jornada de Saúde,
We
nós
have
também vamos
the
ter atendimentos
event-
consciencioterápicos
the event,
intensivos
the
durante essa
healthy
época. Quem
journey
quiser mais informações
and
pode entrar em contato
individual
direto com a IAC
attendance
ou até pelo
with
nosso
the
site
consciential therapists.
www.oic.org.br.
Our website is www.oic.org.br.
Pessoal, boa tarde. Gostaria de convidar todos
Folks,
que
good
estão
afternoon.
envolvidos
I
na
would
produção
like
de
to
seus
invite
livros e
you
também
guys who
envolvidos
are
na produção de
producing your books
artigos
and
científicos
your
dentro da
scientific
conscienciologia
articles
para
within
participarem do
conscientiology
curso
to participate
Heterocrítica de
the
Obra Útil
course
Especial,
of,
que vai contar com a presença do
Heterocritical,
professor Gilson Volpato. O professor Gilson Volpato é
useful
talvez a maior especialista em redação científica do Brasil, se não um dos maiores especialistas. Ele é graduado em Ciências Biológicas, mestre e doutor em Ciências Biológicas pela Unesp, Rio Claro, e pós-doutorado em Israel. Ele também é editor-chefe do periódico Annual Review of Biomedical Sciences e atua 25 anos nas áreas de metodologia, redação e publicação científica. Para vocês terem uma ideia, ele tem 6 livros publicados sobre o tema. Por exemplo, Ciência da Filosofia, a Publicação, Publicação Científica, Dicas para a Redação Científica, Bases Teóricas para a Redação Científica, dentre outros. E no curso Heterocrítica de Obra Útil, nós vamos estar fazendo a análise crítica do livro dele, que é Administração da Vida Científica. Então é um tema também bastante interessante de como o pesquisador administra sua vida realizando ou produzindo a ciência. E o curso ocorrerá nos dias 4 e 5 de setembro, agora então, daqui a 2 semanas, então já estamos bem próximos, tá? Ocorrerá aqui no CAEC. Então, de 4 a 5 de setembro, Heterocrítica de Obra Útil, e nós vamos contar com a presença do professor Gilson Volpato. Convido a todos, então, a participar. Obrigado.
Então, gente, hoje é domingo, né? Dia de sessão do Cineclube.
We have
Hoje a gente vai passar na íntegra,
a movie session in the Cine Club.
O vídeo do debate lá.
We are going to show the video of the debate em Gramado.
Hoje a entrada é gratuita.
It's free today, and Malo is going to talk about a little bit about this debate. This debate was filmed after the exhibition of the Geraldo Sarno's movies, and there's a presence of actors and move makers and all the people related to this, and they were all present. We had the opportunity to participate of this debate, and it's a class of cinema. You know, the Geraldo Sartre is a master. He's a teacher about the cinema. It's interesting. We are going to have a debate after the presentation, so we are going to comment about the movie and other observations from the authors and the other people. And it's a very good opportunity to see to see Osmar, who is someone who is just brilliant. It's for free. Thank you.
Então não percam, tá, gente?
Okay, don't lose this opportunity. We are waiting for you there. So the entry for tomorrow is Centrifugal Life, and the subfield is Evolutiology. And thank you very much, and good afternoon all.